It's the Movie Toasty Show, here for you. Dennis and Adam joke about orgasms and sweet movie reviews. We talk about TV too, right?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah! Movie Toast.
Welcome to a very special episode of Movie Toast News and Reviews. This isn't your typical episode. This is going to be focusing on just one series that's currently airing over on Peacock called Teacups. Dennis isn't here, but I have a very old friend here from high school, Joe. He's from a podcast that you may have heard of called Courtney and Joe Spoil Everything. Thank you for being here, Joe.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Defunct podcast, but I'm happy to get back in the game and be able to talk about some TV here. And I must say, are you a fan of Strange Wilderness?
Are we talking the Happy Madison movie, Strange Wilderness?
Jonah Hill movie, because your intro, every time I hear it, it sounds just like the Jonah Hill singing in the back of the RV with his guitar, and it kills me every time. It's awesome.
That's funny. No, back a couple of years ago, we had an intern, and one day he's like, "Hey guys, me and my buddy wrote this intro song. If you want to try it out," and we're like, "Oh, that's fantastic." Earlier, we had like this back in a different iteration. We had like one of my buddies make a song up, and it kind of sounded like a weird Ghostbusters theme. So we're like, "Oh, that's awesome!" But yeah, no, I never realized that. I haven't seen that movie in probably 15 years at least. I gotta check that out again.
Yeah, so this is different for me. I'm used to just spoiling what's going to happen, at the first episode and the last episode. But I think we're here to walk everyone through this new show called Teacup. Peacock was awesome enough to send you these 8 episodes that they're airing, two every week all the way up to Halloween, and it was very, very cool to be like behind the scenes. I am watching stuff that no one else has seen. Like that's
cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy, like having that. Like it's a fun feeling, and I was happy enough. Like I mentioned it to you at one point, and you're like, "Oh yeah, that'd be cool," and you fucking watch it all in like a couple of days. I'm like, thank God. So I thank you very much for coming here so quickly and doing this.
Yeah, I think we've been trying to get on each other's page for a long time. It's like, hey, I want to ask you to do it. You want to come on mine on my podcast? I would come on yours. Like, right. And we'll just getting right down to it. So I'm excited. We're gonna out, see how it feels. See
what happens. But the tough thing here is there's some embargoes that are still up because the show doesn't conclude until, like you said, October 31st, Halloween. So we can't exactly spoil everything like you would do audience-wise. But we're going to do our best to kind of let you know as much as you can about the show and hopefully entice you to check it out. So if you want to kick us off here, Joe, please.
Yeah, so if you are looking for a new show to watch and you're wondering if Teacup's going to be for you, I would say if you are a fan of things like The Walking Dead, if you are a fan of Supernatural, if you are a fan of some of these shows that I would say are a horror genre, but are not slasher, too bloody, have human elements, human stories along with it, I think you'll see a lot of connection in this to what you already like. And a lot of these things are going to feel familiar. They're going to feel the same, but in kind of a new story. So in a way, you can kind of carry some of that love you have for characters because you'll see them in other characters here.
See, and that's kind of funny that you mentioned that because I remember you were ahead of me watching this, and I'm like, "Oh, how's it going?" And you said that, I'm like, "Oh shit, man, I'm kind of afraid here. If this is reminiscent of so many other shows, I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy watching it." But I really dug like going episode to episode watching this thing, and it doesn't really let you down, even if you love those shows. Like you said, there's things that you'll like from those shows, but then there's also new things happening here, which is kind of fun, unraveling everything in different points. But you want to talk about the cast a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, so some of this cast you've seen before. You have Yvonne, I'm going to butcher it, Strahovski, who plays Maggie, Handmaid's Tale, Tomorrow War, Predator, uh, and Handmaid's Tale's been killing it for a very long time. Um,
Mm.
and you might know her from Chuck.
Yeah, that's my entry point to her, Chuck. And then she came, and I want to say the last season of Dexter. And sadly, I have not watched Handmaid's Tale, but I've heard nothing but fantastic things about it. So maybe that's something I got to venture into.
So, fun fact about her: since her original last name is pronounced Strahovski, like that's any easier, applied to Strahovski early in her career, but it's such that they suggested that she should change her last name to Stryker, but changed it when she also found out that's the name of a famous, let's say, adult actor, Jeff Stryker.
Huh. That's it would have been a fun name. Sorry, my camera is kind of focusing on some weird shit right now. Apologies. But yeah,
Oh,
no, that is an interesting name.
it's
And
happening.
it sucks. It just really
The
sucks that she had to give that name up.
teacups,
Oh,
teacups
shit,
happening
you're
to you
right.
right now. Yeah, weird stuff's happening.
If you're hearing some
Uh,
weird interference noise here, it might be that as well. But I'm not hearing it on my end. But yeah, strange things are brewing.
we have Scott Speedman, who plays James, the speedster here. Uh, you've seen him in Underworld. You've seen him in The Strangers. You've seen him in You, a personal favorite of mine. I love the books. Eat them up. Just 2
I
days, 3
honestly
days.
didn't think I was gonna love that show, but I really got addicted. I'm happy my fiance had me check it out. I'm like, this is like a young adult, like sexy show. And I'm like, oh, I want more. I'm sad that it's coming to an end soon, man.
You know, it was a
Now is
Lifetime show. It was canceled.
oh shit, you're right.
That's
Yeah,
why the
what they
first
did like
season's
one
so much
season over
different.
there?
Yeah, it was canceled, and
That's
then Netflix picked it up, and that's why it got a little bit more. But the book's even like darker, and the inner dialogue of Joe is so much darker and deeper. So,
and I
and
imagine
it's two
it
different
reads
stories. Yeah.
fantastically, right? Like I imagine like you can dig really deep into his background and everything, opposed to here's like 4 seasons of a show.
Yeah, you get to understand him, his layers. It's darker, and they separate after season 2, so you're getting 2 completely different storylines, but still a lot of fun.
Now, what do you like more? Do you like the book more, or the show, or is it just 2 completely different beasts to kind of really sink your teeth
I
into?
I like the book only because I like Joe's inner dialogue. Like everyone loves like the hello you stuff when he talks
Mm,
to himself about the person he's obsessing over, but it's
yeah.
like pages in
Huh.
the book. So it's
Nice.
yeah. Fun
But
fact
yeah.
about Scott Speed was he's Canadian. Um and also well he's born in England to Scottish
Oh.
parents, was raised in Canada, was a swim star, and was going to be an Olympian. But, due to some like injuries, um, he started pursuing acting. And I think his physicality lends itself well to the screen. And as we've seen in other
Yeah.
movies as well.
Yeah, especially in this show, he really gets to go to different ranges with it, which is fantastic.
Kathy Baker, who plays Ellen, seen her in Edward
Mm.
Scissorhands, Picket Fences, Cold Mountain. Um, been around a while. She is she plays James's mother. She is a hippie, rather than in these like shows that are kind of like dark. You always have someone who holds on to like God or light or something. She holds on to smoking weed, and
Yeah,
completely different, completely wrong side, like opposite side, but it works.
right. I'm so used to seeing her as this like wholesome older lady, and in this, she is wholesome, just high, and she's kind of experiencing some of this phenomenal before her family even experiences it in the show. So she's I'm happy she's getting to do something a little different than what she's done before in the past.
Yeah, I mean, and also we find out she's also battling Parkinson's and other things.
Mm.
So not
And
only is she
her
going to battle this
physicality
week,
as that is fantastic. Yeah. Watching her hands kind of tremble and fight it off a little bit. Man, sorry.
we have Chaske Spencer, who plays Ruben. He was in the English, and You might have remembered him with his shirt off a lot in the Twilight series. He's part of Sam's pack. One of the wolves.
Oh man, this
Uh,
guy's great, man. I always think of him, I don't know why, from that mediocre Disney Plus Marvel show Echo. I think of him, but I don't know. He's
Echo.
really great in this.
Sounds
It's
awfully
about
familiar.
it's like a Daredevil spinoff with this deaf girl who is kind of being raised by the Kingpin. It came out a couple of months ago, kind of, or earlier this year, I think.
Man,
Very
I have a little
middle of the line.
MCU fatigue. And
Yeah,
you want to know who I'm surprised doesn't have MCU fatigue? Rob Morgan, who plays McNabb, because he's been in every MCU show on Netflix. Also in
Ooh,
Stranger Things.
yes, and he is a fantastic actor in in this show too. Like we meet him, and he's this very menacing presence. You don't even see his face most of the time when we first meet him, and he's just so spooky. He's our guy in the gas mask here. If you're watching the video, but he's in all the MCU series on Netflix.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying? Damn,
according to the interwebs. I didn't test that theory out, but I'm just gonna believe them.
I'm trying to
We
recall those shows, but goddamn, good for him.
We have Boris MacGyver, who plays Donald. He's an evil, which I love. I think it's another Peacock joint. Um,
Hmm,
and I really enjoyed Evil. It's good. And he was in
I've
House
heard
of
good
Cards.
things. Ooh. Yeah, so
So
I imagine if you watch those shows, is his character different in this one? Because I imagine House of Cards probably a little more political driven, and Evil maybe a little more supernatural. Although I don't know, don't want to spoil things here, but is it anything like his performance in those shows?
not that not that I remember. I
Hmm.
don't think he has big roles in any of these. I mean, he's one of our main casts in here, and I drew a comparison to The Walking Dead earlier, and I'm going to bring it back full
Yeah,
circle.
yeah,
So
please.
I listed everybody, but if you like the love triangle of Rick, Shane, Lori, you're going to love the love triangle of James, Maggie, and Valeria. You have we're going to talk about when we get into episode 1. You have these external things coming up, but you have these people fighting this internal conflict. Um, in in pretty much romance and cheating and a lot of different things.
Hmm.
Uh, if you like Hayden, you get a very short glimpse of Daryl Dixon. If you like, um, if you like Dave, you're gonna love Donald. Kind of the old man out of the group, carrying a rifle, grumpy, be grumpy
Hmm.
next door neighbor. You have Arlo, who is Carl. You know, he's the
Yes.
son, the golden boy, and he has to go try to battle everything and try to take on responsibility in hard times. You have Ellen, who is Carol. Um,
God, yeah.
a woman who's older, is kind of stuck in her way, very bold, very fierce. And then finally, you have Nicholas, who who's your Glenn. So the younger, kind of immature. He is the son of Reuben, and he has to take on responsibility. He is also has a little love for Meryl, who is um, Maggie and James's daughter. So you get some
Yes.
love, you get some drama, you get some action, you get a little bit of everything.
That's true. And it's funny, like I didn't put that connection together until you said it here, but I was getting by the end of this series, I'm like, oh, this does kind of feel reminiscent of The Walking Dead, like because you got these survivors of this incident. They don't know who they can trust. They have this tight-knit community. They're kind of a little not gun crazy, but yeah, no, that's interesting that you like I can tie those characters and whatnot together. Yeah. And one thing I really did like about the show is I feel like they kind of nailed the casting of the kids. I feel like it could have lived or died on these kids because they play such a pivotal role here. And the Chenowits, our main character, our main family, I feel like the daughter very much resembles her mother. The son resembles the father, and hell, even Nicholas, the neighbor kid, uh, doesn't fully resemble his dad, but well, no, he kind of does, and they're pretty strong performers. I feel like kids are I don't know. It takes a little bit, and there's a little bit of dirt that they got to go through with this and their performances in this, because they're kind of choosing sides and kind of maturing a little faster than they need to with this incident. I don't know. I really dug the kids here too.
Yeah, I think the actress who played Meryl, she super strong. There was a moment that I won't get to talk about, but there's a moment towards a big portion, like a big incident, a big kind of your apex of this whole series, where there's kind of like a face off. There's like a push and shove. There's in the emotion that she brings with her mother Maggie is. I was like, wow, that's the best moment of this series. They really knocked it out. They really were able to really let their acting chops shine, and it was. I was like that. I wrote it. I was like, that's the best part. That's the best part of this whole series right here.
Yeah, and the thing with that scene is like you kind of take both of their sides when that happens. And they recently, I want to say the beginning of this episode, that episode you're speaking of, or the previous episode, the mother and daughter had a very genuine like moment together where they were bonded because something huge happened. And then what you're referencing is even bigger, and it's like, holy fucking shit. These two have been through a lot in course of maybe a few hours. And
Yeah,
she
I
really got
mean,
to shine in both those moments.
what we're seeing is we can kind of hop right in and let everybody know what's happening, so we don't have to speak in code.
True.
We have episode 1. It starts explaining the teacup. What is Teacup? Why is it called Teacup? Why is a horror called Teacup?
Good
like a horror
questions.
show.
I thought, right honestly, going in, I really thought it was about a killer who like was like the teacup killer. That's what I thought going in. But they're like, no, that's not what it is, dumbass. And I think you're about to explain it. Sorry.
Yeah, you have this unexplained phenomenon that happens. And it's about how one little event things can blow out of proportion, called the tempest in the teacup. When you have in the beginning, you have the mother and her son Arlo. They're playing with some marbles underneath the teacup, but they see a bug on the wall, and they put their teacup up to the bug, and you can hear it. It's loud, it's different, it's personified, and it's basically they personify the whole show by using kind of tempest in a teacup for everything, for like what this whole show is going to be about. It's about an incident that blows things out of control and things get crazy.
True. And that's all within the first like 5 minutes of the show, setting that up and nice and neat, which is kind of cool. Not making you wait for it, which is kind of a nice change. I feel like most shows would make you wait till that very last episode to be like, oh, that's what it means. But not on this one.
Or like, is a teacup the secret to everything? Is there tea
right?
that they have to drink? I would be like, what the? It would just be bothering me. That'd be all I can think about. So basically, the whole premise of this show, and to kind of talk about it, back up for a little bit, is there are strange things that are happening at the Chenoweth's secluded Georgia farm. Filmed in Georgia. The Walking Dead was filmed in Georgia. Great spot to film. Lots of tax credits there. It's also just
there.
Yeah, really everywhere place. You think about America, you can just put anything there, any part of the country, and it'll kind of work.
So perfect.
Their animals are spooked and restless. Their young son is wandered into the woods. He comes back confused. He comes back changed. He has cuts all over him. Stranger still, a mysterious man in a homemade gas mask arrives, starts spray painting a blue line on the ground, and welcome to Teacup. That's kind of their intro. And that's where we get started is in the beginning of the show, you have the lights are flickering, cars aren't starting, you have pure chaos is happening. You have weird things happening in the house, and the neighbors start to come over because weird things are happening to them too. The first is you have we find out
The
that
Shanley
Maggie,
family.
yeah, the Chenoweth family is they're veterinarians. Maggie's a vet.
Yep.
We have some folks bring over their horse. Their horse has been freaking out. He like banged his head off some wood, and he has like splinters, cuts all over him.
Yeah. Disclaimer: if you don't like seeing like animals kind of in distress, this first episode is going to be a little bit much for you. They show pretty gnarly cuts and bruises on this horse, but they kind of handle it in a decent manner. But yeah, right as the family realizes that their young son is missing, like you're saying, this family comes over with their horse, and so the two families kind of diverge. The wife, Mrs. Chenoweth, and Mr. Shanley, they stay at the farm, try to take care of the horse, and then her husband and the neighbor wife have to go off looking for the son. And then we're kind of learning something's up with these two a little bit. Now, before we meet them, we know that the Chenoweth's husband and wife, they're kind of on the rocks. We don't know why. It seems like someone might have cheated. And then we learn very early on that the wife knows that she was cheated on, but she doesn't know with whom. And then we learn very, very quickly that it's this family with the horse. The husband is out with his mistress essentially right now. And yeah, it's kind of messy for the two families.
Yeah, it's messy between them. It's messy between James and his wife, who's back taking care of the horse. They're having problems. We found that he cheated. She doesn't know with who, but now he's with his mistress, pretty much out in the woods trying to find his daughter. I mean, his son. But we also find out that this is not the first time one of their kids has gone missing, and
Yes.
that when incidences like this come up, his wife kind of locks in and can take care of it, like as a veterinarian, as a professional. But she can also be very cold as a person, he says. And we have this like this personal affair brewing. We have the internal conflict and an external conflict coming in at once, and they're kind of just like moseying around as you do in horror, just like,
Oh yeah.
like I'd be
Nothing
freaking
bad's gonna
out
happen.
if my kid was out in the woods like chasing the goat of the farm
Yeah.
one. The goat's gone, man. I'm trying to find my kid. I don't really care so much about the goat, and I'd be probably running or sprinting, and they are just like kind of like
Just
walking and just like,
flashlights, casually walking, talking about their affair, being like, "Oh, your wife might be on to us. She seems
yeah,
like she knows something." And it's like, is this the time to be talking about this? There's a young boy missing and strange shit's happening all around you. Come on, folks. Get your shit together. Priorities.
and then you got their other neighbor rolls out. Donald pulls out with a gun. He's like, "There's a dog. There's a rabid dog we almost hit coming down the street. What's going on? I'm trying to find my dog. There's something out there trying to kill everybody." And we're like, one, relax. Put the gun down. Two, they're like, we're not gonna shoot anything because
Yeah.
they're vets. They love animals. Why are they gonna go
This
out?
is kind of our livelihood. And of course, as luck has it, while they're searching for their son, the daughter and the neighbor's son end up finding his dog that went missing. Everything's good. And then the boy shows back up, the one who's been missing. He's covered in all these like scratches and kind of speaking in tongue a little bit. And the family's worried. They want to take him to the hospital. They want to get him looked at. They want to get him stitched up. And of course, they go to both their cars. None of the cars are turning on. And it's a little scary at that point, because what do you do when you need to help your family, but you don't have the necessary means of transportation to get them there? And then you have this guy in a gas mask show up and pull a gun on you and tell you can't leave your farm, essentially.
Yeah,
It's
so
quite a lot.
they can't get in their car. They can't go to the hospital. They see a car that's running, pulls up. The person gets the spray paint, line, and holds up a sign that says, "Don't cross this." And they're like, "What are you talking about? Don't cross this." And they're walking towards them, and all of a sudden he just like pulls out a gun, fires it off. So they have to believe him. I mean, I don't know what else you can do to be like, I don't know. And this is where we can't go much further than this. We can't.
And I want it. I
Yeah.
wish we could get into the nitty gritty here, but it's giving away some things, and we've been embargoed from it. But yeah, that's our first episode essentially, and the second episode is the fallout of that. It's all in real time essentially, and it's about.
Well, those are essentially 1 and 2. 1 and 2.
Yes,
2
yeah.
doesn't really get too much deeper than that. So I mean,
But then
in the first 2, that they're.
three...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you're good. Sorry.
So episode 3, we're kind of in the circle. Like they're not leaving the house. They can't leave the house. They don't know why.
There's a reason. They know they can't. They've seen some shit.
I can't tell you why. I would love to tell you why, but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out that everything's out in the open about the affair. James spills the beans. Ruben finds out. He overhears it. Everyone
behind a wall. Yep.
Yeah.
Tensions are rising.
Everyone decided to sleep there the night because of the shit that happened. And we meet finally the elephant in the room. And this is kind of carries this through the rest of the series, is kind of like this anger and this angst between James, Ruben, and so on. We also we meet people.
Yes. But to make that whole story even more awkward, their 2 young children are starting this little relationship as all this is happening. They're trauma bonding and they kind of fall for one another. We find out that Nicholas, the neighbor, has had a crush on Meryl since they were in grade school. And now she's seeing Nicholas in this manlier situation and she's kind of digging it a bit. And it's like, little do they know that their parents are fucking one another, essentially. Kind of an odd water love triangle.
Yeah.
But yes, we meet some newer characters here. Sorry. Yeah, wait, is that like a hexagon or
what's 6 sides? Yeah, we meet some people. We have add, subtract, we have everything in between. We have we unfold what
kind of a murder
to,
mystery almost at some points.
Yeah, we have we unfold what happened to Arlo in the woods. We have a whodunit. We have a hunter killer. We have a little bit of everything. Pick your poison, if you will, on what you like.
Yeah.
Or if you're just around for the tea. The tea.
God, it all comes back. Yeah.
You stick around for the drama because I feel like it's something that you can watch. There's a little bit for the whole family, especially if everyone kind of digs this genre. You don't want something as dark or gory like Stranger Things. You want to dial it back. Like I said, you all like Supernatural or something like that. I feel like this is a good show for that, and I feel like
which is it's kind of surprising that you say that as well, because all the imagery, like the stills, the trailers, the fact that it's executive produced by James Wan, it looks dark, it looks airy, it looks like a badass horror thing, but it's more of a tamer, family-friendly-ish show with some infidelity in the mix. And like you said, there's something for everyone. All ages can enjoy this, essentially. Maybe not like younger kids, maybe in their teenage years.
We're talking high schools. Yeah, high school. You're all looking for something to watch together. We have, sappy moments and family bonding and also just shock horror, some jump scares here and there.
Sure.
It looks like this person's going to go around and murder everyone.
Yep.
But I assure you, it's not that crazy. It's crazy,
and we even get his backstory. Yeah. Like that's the beautiful thing. You're afraid of this guy, and then you're like, oh, you kind of fail for him, and then you're rooting for him, and then you're rooting against him at other moments, and it's like, okay, all right, and that's kind of what you feel like for all of these characters. Like everyone has their flaws, everyone has their pros. And what this show does nicely is it evens everyone out to a playing field where they got to work together to figure out what's happening. And whether they agree with each other on certain aspects, it doesn't matter because they all want to survive and they want what's best for them and their family and their community, essentially.
And you have these people that can't even trust their spouses, and they have to watch out for their kids, and they, like I said, there's some whodunit aspects to it. So you have this big game of Clue that gets played. You have you get some, some push and shoving, some fighting. You get some conflict. You get a little bit of everything, and it's kind of like they're all in a Big Brother house.
And you might cry a little bit by the end too. Like, surprisingly, it's like, oh, this packs a little bit of a punch. Kind of like Joe was saying there's this scene at the end. It's like you can fail for the family and everyone at that point, and that's kind of sprinkled throughout the whole show. Really, everyone's going through grief and loss and whatnot at different parts of this journey.
A lot of my notes are based around what happens. Like I can't tell. I can't tell
and that was the thing. Like when we were kind of talking, you were ahead of me watching this, and I'm like, oh, I hope they tie things up, but there's only like 2 episodes left. I don't know if it's going to make sense. And it does, and it doesn't at the same time. Like everything kind of gets wrapped up, but then they leave it off on a bigger cliffhanger. And it's like, fuck. And they're good at doing that. Each episode, they end on this interesting ending, and then they cut to this music that's just like odd, but it kind of fits what's going on in the show at the time.
So here's the thing. Here's a couple things I would fix. One, stop buying such good music. Don't waste your money licensing awesome music, because there were some absolute earworms in here.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are they spending money on it? Like, you could put that money into anything else. Why are there so many dogs?
True.
Like I put on my producer hat. I'm like, that's a lot of money. Why are there so many dogs? That's a lot on set. That's a lot of, having to shoot
animal
the same
wranglers.
Shot. Yeah. You also
it's like there's no payoff with the dogs. Essentially, like there's a scene where there's like maybe 4 or 5 dogs kind of at this one area, and it's like there is a reason they're there, but there's not a greater reason, and they don't serve too much of a purpose. I feel like that could have been done. Yeah, I agree.
The dog, there's not one you can do implied, like that dog was missing. You never found that dog, but you found Arlo, and everything's weird. Like, you could have put that into special effects. You could have put it into something else. That was my, I was like, why are so many dogs? That was my big, I love dogs. You can make a whole show about
that's the thing. I was afraid. I'm like, oh, are they going to brutally kill a dog? I hate when that shit happens in movies. Kill humans as much as you want, but don't kill the animal. Luckily, they don't. Well, but yeah, like you said, spend it elsewhere. Some of the moments in this kind of felt like I was going to like Universal Halloween Horror Nights with like some of the things that happen to some of the humans in this. I'm like, that could look a lot better. Like it's very cheesy looking. And I get you're trying not to be super gruesome, but it wasn't scary enough. Some of these moments, I want it more. Like, save the money on the animals, the music, put it into scaring us. Like, give us a little bit more of a thrill with what's going on. I agree.
I think this is a slow burn. So if you get past episode 3, you're going to be fine. That's what I feel. If you are having trouble through 1 and 2, you're going to have trouble through the rest of it.
True.
I obviously had like something pushing me to finish this, but there were times I wanted to give it up, and then it sucks you in. Like you're just like, well, now I got to see what happens with this, and now I got to see what happens with this, and then you're kind of like, oh crap! All right, now I'm in it.
Yeah, like I'd be like, I want to watch 1 episode, and then I'm like, oh, this is dragging, and then oh shit, now it's over. Fuck, I gotta watch the next, and it's like. Then they just walk that line like you're saying. It's like, what is it? Why can't it just be like that throughout the whole run of the show? Maybe if they like cut some stuff out a little bit, made it like 4 or 6 episodes, it could have been a little tighter, a little stronger. But I get you want to kind of have
is only a 24-hour period.
Oh. Huh. So, yeah, and this is spanning a couple of days. I want to say like 3 or 4 days, maybe.
Yeah, it's a 24-hour period in a big city. This is
totally different.
Yeah, they really chopped it down to the human element, and that's why I guess I was trying to pay more attention to the story for everybody, because that's what matters. You're not going to recognize the book, or you're not going to recognize the story so much. I mean, the story's in there, buried in there, but this is all about family conflict, isolation, stuff like that. Not a big city, vibe.
Yeah. Which that would have been really fun to see, but I get, yeah, it would. The budget would probably skyrocket, and it wouldn't be as intimate, probably. And
It
maybe, who
probably
knows if
be
they
a cable
do.
show. Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I feel like the way it ended, I want more, but I could live without a second season, I think, honestly.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm okay. Story ended. It didn't. I think the pitfalls in the, I'd say, the gap in the story, not like gap. And I don't think there's a story gap. I think that it didn't entice me enough to continue on.
Yeah.
Because there's something that I needed some sort of closure, and I needed a more open end journey. I need to know what's going to lie ahead, and you don't.
Yeah, there's no big teaser or stinger that you're waiting for. It's like, oh, okay, that's what happens. It kind of felt like any other episode ending at that point. And I wonder
Exactly.
if that was the plan. Did they maybe cut the budget and they're like, well, we're not going to have time to wrap everything up? Or maybe this is their master plan. They think people are going to really be at the edge of their seats wanting more, but I don't know. Not really me. I'll watch it maybe, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch another season.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think in this, I think with the way things are and how competitive, this kind of just runs the mill. It blends, I think, too much with, doesn't stand apart. I think that's what makes these shows really successful right now.
Yeah.
It is, I said how much I loved Evil, but this is like the same vibe. It's like,
And that's a show that had its trials and tribulations. It did good. People loved it. It got canceled. Then I think Paramount picked it up, right? Or someone,
yeah,
and did a couple more seasons.
Would you give this a second season if you were in charge?
No, like you said, there's nothing that sticks out. There's nothing intriguing about it. I would go to something different. Now, I do respect the fact that they did something original. It was something we haven't seen before exactly. But honestly, the whole situation that we're dancing around because we can't talk about, I didn't like it. I wanted something different. I felt like it was kind of like not really worth the payout. I felt like it could have been something bigger, better, badder, scarier. And it was just like benign. I don't know. What about you?
Exactly. I felt that you could have went. I think there was a lot of creative decisions that were made, and a lot of notes where I was like, "That's an interesting choice on how to take care of that." I think that they could have. I just think I can't get past like the really cheesy special effects and stuff. Like there were some parts where like clearly didn't spend the proper amount of time to take care of this and to like drive something home. And I don't know, I'm a fan of this kind of genre. I watched The Walking Dead for a very long time, longer than I should have.
Yeah.
Because I fell in love with it, and now this is like, I don't know, maybe it's just I was so let down, and this is the same thing. So nothing. I just don't want to get hurt again, Adam. All right.
I get it, man. You don't want to have a situation where you're invested and then you don't know why you're invested anymore, like The Walking Dead. Now, on our main show, we tend to rate things slices of toast, 1 being mediocre and 4 being kind of great. What would you rate this out of 4 slices?
Out of 4 slices, I'm gonna go. It's like I'm gonna say like 2 1/4. I'm gonna go quarter because you want to know what? I had my 2 pieces of toast, and I was like, "That's okay," but I like the little. I was like, I just need a little something extra. It's not. I can't commit to a whole half, so I'm gonna say that. 2 1/4.
It's funny you say that because I'm going 2 1/2. And I don't know what that difference is, but I do understand that. It makes sense. There's something that
2.5 is 2.5 is like 50%. This is less than 50 for me. I can't.
I get that.
There's too much. There's too much good content out there competing with it. There's too much in this genre. There's a lot of good like this year especially, I feel like there's a lot of good like
Oh,
movies, TV.
especially
I feel
horror
like they're
movies. If you're looking
yeah.
for horror, this is the year for horror, I think. And I'm like you, I'm not a giant horror fan, but I go see pretty much everything in the theater, and I'm gravitating towards horrors more original at this point than I used to be a giant fan of comedy, but there's just no real comedies hitting it for me. And yeah, TV, it's everything's great in TV. What are some of your go-tos this year for TV?
So I just crushed Salem's Lot. Um,
Ooh,
speaking
I
of like
did that
horror,
the other night. Yeah.
I feel like I was watching a Cliff Notes version of a movie, but it was cool. I like Stephen
It,
King. I like the vibe. I like New England. I'm a New
mm,
England guy. I
it,
like the New
it's
England stuff.
it's funny. I didn't know too much about Salem's Lot, but I literally turned that show down, working on that show as the production secretary, to go work as a PA on Hocus Pocus 2. And then I quit Hocus Pocus 2 because it was terrible to work on. And I just had this big struggle. I took a weekend to think about it, but I'm like, oh, Salem's Lot, Stephen King, big movie. It's going to be on the big screen. Everyone's going to see this movie. It's going to be a hit. And then it just was shelved for so fucking long. And then honestly, I liked it better than I thought I would, but it just wasn't as good as I wish it would have been. That Salem's Lot.
You want if you like that, Castle Rock. Castle Rock's better. I think Castle Rock is a
Season one of
much better
Castle Rock
version
is
of Teacup.
fantastic.
Yeah, Castle Rock is like what Teacup should be. And Castle Rock doesn't get nearly enough credit as it should because it is a good show with good acting.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like season 2 as much, but I still respected what it was doing. It was a fine show, and I was sad that it didn't come back. I know a lot of people that worked on it, and like they were all thinking this is a slam dunk. I was on a movie that was shooting or in the same area, and I walked on that set and just seeing the town that they built, the meticulousness of these sets, just being there, it's like holy shit, this is like a little town in these like 3 sound stages, and I feel like that's something that this show could have benefited from. Like, really, I feel like the sets weren't even that big, that bombastic. They were just kind of, oh, it's a house in a barn in the woods. It's like, no, a little more production design, something. I don't know. Yeah, definitely check out Castle Rock if you haven't. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And I think it was Monster Summer I saw in the theaters. We were this is how it all started. As you were texting me about Monster Summer.
I didn't see it. I did not see it.
The first 10 seconds because there are no palm trees on Martha's Vineyard. You tried the Dawson Creek test and you did it terrible. Oh man, and like Mel Gibson's in it, and it's so weird, and like it's a coming of age movie, and it just I love that stuff. I eat that stuff up usually. There's like the Snack Shack that's a coming of age movie that's like blowing up right now.
That movie is fantastic. I just watched the previous movie the guy did that directed that called Dinner in America. Great movie, but Snack Shack, yeah, coming of age and in a specific time period. That was fun and enjoyable and a little bit more deeper than I thought it would be. And yeah, but like I had a ticket to go see it, and then I saw you post about it, and I'm like, oh, I try avoiding trailers normally. And after watching the trailer and hearing your response, I'm like, this movie looks like a giant letdown. I saw like the poster looked fun, Mel Gibson. I'm like, this should be fantastic. It should be a slam dunk. And not really. No. Huge letdown.
Just that whole, it was one, it dragged, and then the last kind of like 20 minutes, like your whole the whole lead up to the ending was disappointing. Like trying to figure out, what's happening to these kids, same sort of like who done it, what's going on, why are these kids acting weird, and then I don't even want to say it because but there's some good cameos. Like there's some good cameos in it. But
yeah, I saw at the end of the trailer Kevin James is in it, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
He plays like a Southern person who moved up here to run a newspaper, and he has a terrible Southern accent. And he's in the beginning and the very end of the movie for probably about 5 minutes.
He was in town for like a week, probably, or less. In and out.
Yeah, no, it was probably like a two-day shooting.
Man.
Not Martha's Vineyard because it wasn't filmed there, and it was very apparent, and I hated it. I didn't before.
I hate when places. Sorry. I was going to say I hate. Yeah.
I
And I
enjoyed this. I enjoyed the sneak peek of seeing Teacup, seeing something that no one's seen before, getting ahead of it and seeing now how people react to it is going to be very cool.
Yeah. Reviews I've read mixed, not the best, but I don't know. I think it's worth checking out at least. If it piques your interest, give it 2 episodes, like you said. It could be for you, maybe not for you. Find out. But yeah, if anybody hasn't checked out your podcast, you want to kind of give it a brief little explanation of what it is and how many episodes, like, because it's a pretty interesting concept.
So
I know
we
you're
no
not
longer
doing it anymore. But...
we no longer do it. But if you're a fan of like TV shows that have always hung out there, that you've always wanted to see, and everyone else has seen, we watched the first episode, the pilot, and the very last episode when the show ended for good. We try to figure out everything that happens in between. Do a little bit of this character recap, and then talk a little bit about what we liked, what we didn't like, and a lot of hijinks in between. We're both producers. We work together for a good time, and I didn't work on features as you have. I did kind of more of documentaries, kind of videos and for different visitor centers, National Park Service, stuff like that.
But you got to kind of be very creative. I'm kind of just the middleman, keeping all these like grown adults that act like children at bay. You at least get to be like creating things and having a blast. And I mean, I love what I do, but it's been 2 years. But yeah, no, I'm happy to kind of thank you.
You made these awesome films when you were out in LA, like these little shorts and stuff. I remember following like Black Jesus and stuff like that.
I have a whole feature for it that I want to make, but it's like, I don't have money. I wish I had fucking money. Oh man. But yeah. Thank you very much for coming on, man. This was fun. I apologize. I had you leading it, but you honestly took notes and did a little bit deeper than I did. And I appreciate that. I
did deeper than I should have, because we can't talk about it.
True. I should have sent you that in advance.
That's okay. Hey, it made me pay attention more. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get you on the show sometime. Like if there's ever a moment where I need someone to step in, if you are ever willing, that'd be cool. If this didn't scare you away enough.
No, you have my information. I'll be happy to come back. See if the Toasties like me first.
Yeah, there we go. So yes, thank you all for listening or watching wherever you are. Please follow us. We're over on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, all the basic places at movie_toast. And please stay toasty, guys. Thank you.
Adam and Dennis, they're the kings of the real. Reviewing new movies, they keep it real. Coast to coast, from LA to the east. On the podcast show, they feast on the beast. Adam's bringing knowledge like he's Professor X. Dennis with cuts deeper than Wolverine's claws. I guess Marvel, DC, they know them all by heart. Breaking down the plot, tearing every scene apart. They got the juice like Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. Breaking down movies with a sharp precision. Adam coming in hot like a John Wick hit. Dennis bringing the heat like the climax of a Tarzan flick.